I'm Tom Dretler. I'm the CEO of Shorelight Education, and I'm thrilled to be able to present with my partner, Dr. Ruth Watkins, the provost from the University of Utah. As the president says, we are making news because Shorelight has 11 university partners, and we have not yet announced, but we are doing it right now, that the University of Utah, thank you, Ruth, is our 12th university partner. We're really excited about it. It's such a great institution, and we'll talk about how these things take a year for us to put together, and it's a real collaboration, and it starts with a personal relationship that can happen between a number of people at the institution. But for us and Ruth and me, we've developed that over this year or so, and I'm going to yield to the provost from the great state of Utah to just say a few words after just say one thing about the connecting point. And the connecting point for us is around two things: student success, because you learn we're aligned. We want the students to succeed, and you're going to see that the U is all about that. And we believe we need to use technology to do that at scale. And the university is already doing that in some really cool ways that are different than what we see at other institutions.
Great. So, thank you, Tom. Warmest welcome to all of you to Salt Lake City. Tell me, you've been able to look around the environment a little bit. What do you think? Beautiful place? Have you been able to get outside at all?
I'm mic'd up,
yes?
So I'll say it's a beautiful place, and I've gotten outside.
Yes, and it's so beautiful. We're having beautiful spring weather for you, and it is a lovely place. As it turns out, a very remarkable environment in so many ways. In terms of industry, technology, growth, vibrancy, employment, a lot is happening in Salt Lake City. One of the things that's happening in Salt Lake City is a fabulous research university, the University of Utah. If you have a chance, go up the hill. It's about a mile away. A remarkable institution, a top-tier research university with enrollment about 33,000 students, so a large, vibrant university that's part of the Pac-12 academic and athletic group. That puts us in great company in terms of institutions with a very strong academic programs and on a very robust growth trajectory. As Tom mentioned, I just want to say we are focused very sharply on our work as a research university, but also on the success of our students. And that focus, attracting talent, retaining talent, graduating students that enter the workforce, is the intersection that connected us with Shorelight. Our mission and our values aligned very strongly with Shorelight, and that's one of the key factors that brought us together.
And Ruth, if I can interject on this slide, Ruth has been with the organization for about 5 years. So when you take a look at the student success metrics of the university, I'm sure there are many people who could take a bow, but it starts at the top, and it starts with being focused in this area. So one of the things that we look at when we're looking at a partner, and we sit at Shorelight at the intersection of international education and technology, and we know international education is about student success, and we know technology is about student success at scale. And what we found in our investigation of who could we partner with in the United States, that this is an institution that was already doing it, and was already doing it under Ruth's leadership.
Thanks. Okay, and as Tom mentioned, when universities measure themselves in terms of students and student success, there are really two critical variables. One of them is the first-year retention data. As Tom pointed out, we have now hit 90%. When you get to 90% on first-year retention, that's 9 of every 10 freshmen come back for their second year. You're in pretty elite company. You're in with the best universities in the United States, which is where we want to be. The other critical variable is retention through degree completion. So the fact that students come, they stay, and they leave with the degree that they came for, the baccalaureate in this case. One of the intersections between the University of Utah and Shorelight has been our use of data to help us drive institutional aims and company aims. So for the university, we know a lot about students before they ever set foot on campus. We have a lot of information. If we deploy that well and effectively, we can help more students succeed. Come, stay, leave with a degree.
You know, I can let Ruth speak to what a special place Utah is. You did, I think, a little bit earlier, but it's a really unique environment. We knew that at Shorelight. I don't know if you want to hit a couple of these highlights. We're both watching the clock. But.
Right. Just a couple things to highlight for you. Salt Lake City is a remarkable environment, and the University of Utah is a key part of that environment. We are a very affordable institution. The way I like to frame that is that we offer high value. We are the perfect intersection of quality and affordability. Our tuition is the lowest in the Pac-12 and 50% lower than peer institutions. We are a remarkable research institution. That means students have the opportunity to learn from the faculty who are generating knowledge, not just translating it to them. A very innovative place in an entrepreneurial culture with a state that has been repeatedly ranked as a top state for business. So we provide an excellent environment for such a partnership to take place.
And so when we showed up at the university, knowing that we wanted to partner with them, we led with data. And Ruth can actually speak to this in some ways more than I can, because in this first meeting I was not there. But we have a proprietary tool that we use to figure out how a university is doing vis-a-vis their peers or vis-a-vis their aspirations in terms of their ability to bring students from different countries. So this is a heat map, and it's using a portion of the Shorelight Global Reach platform to tell us, okay, let's look at, we can cut this all different ways, but let's look at the past few years, and let's see where the U, that's what Utah is called, where the U is doing well, and maybe the U doesn't want to bring in students from all of these countries, but the green areas are areas where the university vis-a-vis its peers are doing great. The red are areas where they really haven't invested or bringing in students in a different way and not as many as their peers. And Ruth was on the other end of that, as she was, as was her team. And we also then double-clicked and we drilled down by cities. And so we used the tool to say, let's take a look at the individual students at the university now from individual cities. What are they studying? How well are they doing? What are they paying? We can look at that from any institution in the United States, by the way, and it helps us together craft what our program's going to be. Because if it's all about student success and it's all about global reach and reaching the students that we want to reach, then if we've got the data, then we know how to design our program to diversify the campus in exactly the ways that we want to. And so I don't know if you want to just say for a moment what it was like when we came, not as salespeople, but as people who could help talk about the university from a data-based and analytics approach.
Yeah, so I should mention that the University of Utah has sought to increase our international enrollment. So we started with that as an institutional aim, as part of our portfolio, largely because our students and our faculty are asking us for that. They are entering a global world. They want to be educated and learn side by side with people from around the world. Imagine my surprise when I went to a first meeting with a couple of folks from Shorelight, and they knew more about my institution than I did as a fairly new provost about the data about my institution. Where are international students coming from? Country, city. That was a pretty impressive first meeting from my perspective to think about a partnership with a company that had access to very specific data, not about the United States in general, but about my institution. Compelling.
And of course, we arrived after doing our own cut of the universe of universities that we may partner with. It's very dynamic. We have 11 other U.S. university partners, 6 other flagship universities. And so we were looking for certain things for our students before we approached the U, and we were hoping they'd be willing to have us. So it's not like we target them and then they say, okay, yes. But this was just one way that we used the Shorelight Global Reach platform and the partnership selection tool to say, all right, if we're seeing traction in cities with universities that, we want to partner with a highly ranked university with broad programmatic offerings so we can get a diverse student population. We want a university, in this case, that has a lower international student percentage than its highly ranked peers. Because the higher ranked you are, usually the larger your international student percentage. So we wanted to grow north because we had seen in some of our other partnerships where we put fine universities in cities and we get oversold. And there's just so much demand for great American universities that we needed to find a larger one in a hub city that had certain characteristics. So we kind of walked into our conversations with Utah knowing that they were at literally the very top of our list based on the dynamic aspects of our portfolio. But it's not just about having a university that people want to go to, because that's great. But this is just such a huge market. I think a lot of people know this. We think it's the biggest market opportunity in education, but it's sub-optimized. And it's sub-optimized because too many universities don't know how to approach the international student. So what they do is they take the 3.5 million students who say that the US is their #1 destination of choice, and they shrink that market. Basically, most universities can only go after the already prepared. And the already prepared is a very, very thin slice. And so in our work together to internationalize this outstanding campus, what we can do is we can open the market back up. We can say, let's look for a different kind of target student, highly motivated student, high quality, that actually does need support with language and culture. And frankly, we all know that if the gold standard was to study in Saudi Arabia around the world, if the gold standard was to study in China, whether it was us, or now I'm old enough to say whether it was my children, we know that you take a really smart kid and you parachute them in to an environment in Saudi Arabia or an environment in China and just say, welcome, we're so happy to have you. How are they going to do? I think they're coming home at Thanksgiving and not going back. So what we say is we're going to open up the market together because of our programmatic approach, but it needs to be with an institution that shares that deep commitment to student success. And so what we found in this investigative process, this year-long process of working with Ruth and her team, was that they already had a student success ecosystem.
So you can imagine the task of more than 30,000 people, and my job being leading the academic enterprise of that 30,000 plus student body. The task of improving retention and completion has to have certain features. You need a very strong game plan. It needs to be data-driven. You need to evaluate the efforts you're making. You need to be able to work at scale. You're going to need to use technology to enable change. We have built a student success ecosystem that involves all of those elements, that thinks about scale, that uses technology to step in for personal relationships at times at that large of a scale, and also is using data to help us inform decision-making, to reach students when they need help in a timely way through tech-enabled strategies, and then to make use of advances in technology for hybrid and online education. That's all part of the Utah Student Success ecosystem. It is a constantly evolving effort that involves steps forward, evaluative, refine, reprogram as a big part of our game plan.
And I love the word reach because that's the name of our platform. We've got great student success metrics at Shorelight, and it's because we believe, well, first of all, it's in our culture. It's in our DNA to serve the student, but it's also, we've got a set of tools to follow the student throughout the life cycle that are going to support them in each and every phase. And so we're going to talk about just a few ways that we do that. We're going to focus on digital marketing, hybrid delivery, and tech-enabled services. And REACH is actually an acronym. Research, enroll, acclimate, complete, and hire. And so we're trying to achieve global reach for the university and for the students. We're also trying to make sure that we're thoughtful about each and every stage of the student life cycle, and we're providing those tools that will support the student. So some of you know, but not all of you know, we have a partnership with US News and World Report. And at Shorelight we do. And we now say, okay, all the 12 million unique international visitors who come to US News site to get information and try to find out which universities in the United States are best for them, we can give them a completely different experience. And we're doing this in collaboration with our partners. We have the leader of that business unit, Michael Huckabee, here. Perhaps if there's time, Michael will talk a little bit more about what we're doing. But visually, you can see the student at the center of now the company profile, the university profile. But the student can investigate in their native language. They have communication tools where they can check in with alumni or other current students who are from their home country or home city. There's ways for them to ask questions about the things that are unique to them. It's the way we've designed most of our digital marketing efforts has really been about a domestic audience. And so through our partnership with US News Global Education, we are able to reach students all over the world and really give them a sense of where they should best choose, what would be the best choice for them in terms of their college experience. And I know Ruth had said to me that the fact that we have this kind of partnership was meaningful.
I think for the university, the opportunity to improve our reach, to tell our story, uniquely what's special about the University of Utah and why should a student think about us, incredible new opportunity to expand our reach, so we're thrilled.
We also, Ruth and I have talked a lot about how we'll use another piece of our platform, which is hybrid delivery or dual campus delivery. So that's not an instructor physically standing in front of the room. That's somebody at University of Massachusetts at Amherst, another one of our partners. And he's teaching a class, and that class is physically together. And we're partnering with Shanghai Jiaotong University, highly ranked university in Shanghai, to offer an electrical engineering degree starting this fall. And we're able to do that with UMass Amherst faculty teaching, and it doesn't have to be fly-in faculty. We've used this tool to really simulate an experience where students are working together and engaging in faculty in some ways that we don't think others are doing. And just in our conversations around what we're doing here with University of Massachusetts, Ruth and I have engaged in conversations about what else we might do together. So if we're going to start with bringing international students to this great university in Salt Lake, well, consistent with the vision that Basil Cleveland and I had when we first founded the company, we also have the opportunity, potentially, if Ruth and her team want to take this great university and bring it to the students where they live and work. So perhaps we'll do that. Or perhaps we'll find that we have students who want to come and they've been admitted to the institution, but they don't get their visa in time. Could happen, especially right now. Well, if that happens, in the old model, we'd say, well, we're disappointed that you can't join us this semester. Hopefully next semester you'll be able to do that. But now we can say, you know what, no sweat. We're going to start you using our delivery tool. You're going to begin your classes with your colleagues. And then when you get your visa, you're going to join us in Salt Lake City. So it's a very different opportunity for us. This last example in tech-enabled services is, it's just one frame of this thing we call the Commons. It's a personalized digital concierge that supports the student from the second the student decides, I'm coming to the University of Utah, and we're using an example of a student we have actually in another university, Vinh Wu, Vietnamese student. But a student decides they want to come to Utah, and they immediately have access to a suite of resources that will support them in getting acclimated before they leave their country, before they step foot on campus. It will support them throughout the process of trying to get to graduation, and with tutoring and other tools. And this is a snapshot of how this student is using the tool to facilitate the career readiness process and actually get an internship using all the available resources that we have. And I think, what do we have, what did you say? It's virtually 0% unemployment here in Salt Lake City. It's a crazy thing to say. So I think students who come here are going to have a good chance in getting internships. So, those are just a few ways that together we will use technology. So in summary, with hopefully a few minutes for questions or comments, we partnered for a bunch of reasons. All the data and all the analytics said, we should do this. The students want to come to the University of Utah. We partnered because we share a vision, and we share a commitment to not just student success, but truly through technology and tech-enabled services throughout the student life cycle, delivering student success at scale. And one of the things that Ruth commented to me was, you spent a long time at the University of Illinois before coming to University of Utah. Everything that Ruth has been doing has been about scale. She said to me, we don't even talk about it if it can't scale. And so, we've seen such tremendous demand for the programs that we've been involved with 11 other universities, that we have to build our apparatus and our organization to serve tens of thousands and eventually hundreds of thousands of students.
I think from the university's perspective, I would say Tom has summarized nicely that it is the intersection that drives us together. Certainly, as the academic leader of the institution, I know that it's my responsibility to continue those increases in student success, and I cannot derail from that. I couldn't take on a partner that wasn't just as focused as I am on that issue. At the same time, we need to increase our international student enrollment. So if I had the capacity in my institution to do this work without a partner, I probably would. But I don't have that capacity to do it without a partner. So my job as the leader of the institution was to identify the partner whose values, mission, purpose, and activities aligned with mine. We have done that with Shorelight, and we're delighted to be part of this partnership to drive change in the institution. Thanks.
And thank you very much, Ruth. And I wanted to point out one other thing, and I will not name names, and I hope I won't embarrass you by saying it, but that I believe the University of Utah is the only institution in the United States that internationalized with a third party once before, decided that for whatever reason the approach wasn't working, then decided that, okay, we can't go it alone, so we're going to get another at bat here. And we're going to look for another partner. And I don't say that to diminish what anyone else is doing. And again, I'm not naming names. I guess, there are cycles that people go through when they think about how do you approach this, huge opportunity in international student success. And I think it gets back to alignment. And I think really, the way to close is to say that having that combination of the commitment to international student success and the commitment to international student success at scale through leveraging technology is what brought us together and has kept us together, and we can't wait to bring students to this university in the really near future. So Ruth, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of you for listening.
If we can.
Yeah, I think we've got a minute and a half.
Give us a question.
So,
Questions, comments? Yeah.
John?
Hi, what have you seen in any change from the international market since the election?
So it is an incredibly, I'm so glad you asked it because everybody asked that question. It's such a resilient market. So, we're a data-based organization. We go back 20, 30 years. And the international student market has grown in dollars every single year going back 20, 30 years. And that includes, by the way, after 9/11. And I'm not trying to say that this election is equal to that tragedy, but I am saying that that was another point in our history where you could say, well, maybe international students would think twice about coming to America at this time. There was, in terms of numbers of students, there's only been 2 dips, twice that it's gone negative in 25 or 30 years. And the decrease was negative 2%. One time and negative 0.5% another time. And our applications for our universities, and we're not yet taking applications for the University of Utah, are way, way up. We know that we have to communicate to international students and their families that America is a welcoming place, but even more specifically, American universities are welcoming places. And then sometimes people ask about red states and blue states. Well, we know Utah, in this case, was a red state. You're not going to get a more welcoming environment than you're going to get at the University of Utah, and our prospective students are going to know that. So thank you very much.
All right, thanks a lot. We appreciate it.